with RTCC. My name is Susan Sanford, Executive Director of the Research Triangle Cleantech Cluster. And thank you for overcoming your Zoom fatigue to be with us today. We have a really great program. We have a thought leadership panel talking about decarbonization, and then we have our Cleantech Innovation Awards. So if you'll stick with us through 1:30, I promise you it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful program. So for those of you who are with us for the first time, thank you. I just want to tell you a little bit about RTCC and the clean tech industry. For those of you who've been with us since the beginning, you've seen the clean tech industry transition from smart grid 10 years ago to smart cities and connected communities 5 years ago to more recently a real sense of urgency around decarbonization and climate change. Overall, some analysts say this clean tech industry is expected to reach $1.3 trillion in market share by 2025, and we are here to support creating those jobs in North Carolina. That's our mission. So since the pandemic, I apologize, I know folks are still joining because we have such a wonderful program. I would jump right in and start the content. But since the pandemic, what we've seen is a lot of our local governments shifting, resources from innovation for demonstration's sake to really focusing resources on solutions that are going to cut expenses, reduce carbon, help transition to clean energy, and really help communities reach social justice and equity goals. So there's a lot of opportunity in clean tech, and we're here to celebrate some of those individuals and organizations today. So I want to give you just quickly a little update on RTCC since this is also our annual meeting. RTCC, we are wrapping up year 2 of the North Carolina Clean Tech Corridor, and I saw Bob Irvin. I wish I could wave to you, Bob. I saw Bob join us this morning. This is in part funded by the EDA, and we are wrapping up year 2 of 3 years. And the goal of this project is to facilitate clean tech deployment across North Carolina. So this year we saw 15 local governments join this effort, and we identified opportunities, which you can see right here, for further collaboration. In terms of events, together with our partners, we produced more than 14 events back in the old days, events like a Galentine's Day event in person with our friends at NCSEA, to more recently our first virtual career fair with NC State. And we have, I think the next slide is events. We have already started curating a calendar of events for you for 2021. And if we have any entrepreneurs in the audience, please join us next week. We have curated a panel of clean tech corporate venture to share their thought leadership with you. So plenty of events. In terms of membership, I should also give you an update as we are a membership organization. Membership has grown slowly but steadily, and we have reached 61 members in the clean tech cluster. But more important, we've seen new members join that we have been really keen to work with for a long time. So this year, we had Cree Wolfspeed, Siemens, Verizon, and the city of Durham. That's not the complete list, but to join the clean tech cluster. And so those organizations are going to be key to advancing our smart cities initiatives in 2021. And then that is sort of where we've been, and here we are. And let me give you a little preview of what I'm most excited about is RTCC's strategic plan. So yesterday, we formally adopted our first 3-year strategic plan. And this was a collaborative effort with input from the region. And this strategic plan rolls into and supports our vision, which is around clean tech adoption. So business development and collaboration is about identifying opportunities to deploy. Education is about developing the market so there are future additional opportunities to deploy. And then innovation is about identifying gaps in deploying clean tech, where there's an opportunity for a new technology or a business model. So some of the projects that you'll see in the short term are Smart Cities Boot Camp, a decarbonization industry-led effort, name TBD, but Decarb NC, essentially, where we're highlighting industry's leadership and connecting them with RTCC members, and a revamped website that connects those who are setting decarbonization goals with RTCC members. So we're very excited about these initiatives. They are each being member-led. We've created member-driven ideation teams, and just thank you to the members who've been involved so far. And if you're not a member, now is just a really great time to join, because you can really put a stamp on these programs. I think, how's that? Am I doing okay on time? I have been breathing. The last thing I'd like to say is today is my last official meeting with RTCC as executive director. And if I have not talked with you individually, I am very sorry. And I look forward to seeing you in 2021 when we can get together. I want to thank our board, our members, and our friends for the past 5 years of being able to work with RTCC. And just really excited about the opportunities for RTCC. I am staying in the region and look forward to connecting with you. But I'm most excited to say that Emmett Owens, whom you know on our team, will be leading RTCC's strategic plan execution as well as RTCC. So we're in very good hands. With that, I think I can move to the thank you portion of our annual meeting. A few quick thank yous. I'd like to thank our board members who provide significant investment, have essentially established RTCC and continue to fund our operations and programs. I'd like to thank our leadership members and just specifically call out WRAL and B2B Marketing Communications for their support in promoting this event and many others. And I'd also like to thank Census, a Xylem brand, for sponsoring and making this annual meeting possible. And we're going to hear from Renee Pete in a little bit about why Census, a Xylem brand, is such a good fit for the Cleantech Innovation Awards. So, and I also want to thank Emmett Owens for cat herding and curating all of these videos and just producing a wonderful program of some great content, which you'll see shortly. So with that, we can move into our thought leadership portion of the meeting. I'd like to introduce Paul Quinlan. Oh, no, Renee is introducing. I'd also like to say this is the first time I've seen Emmett Owens in person in 9 months. So I'm very glad that we can both be here in the office together. For our panel, I want to introduce our moderator, Paul Quinlan, who is a Cleantech manager with ScottMadden, who's a valuable member of the Cleantech cluster, but also is a management consulting firm that serves the energy industry and utilities. Paul, I'm sorry, I won't have time to read your entire illustrious bio. I don't know if you can tell I'm looking at you. Paul helps clean energy and utility clients with strategic planning, business planning, market analysis, and due diligence evaluations. He previously was with NCSEA, and we're still reaping those benefits of his work there. And he has a master's in public policy and environmental management from Duke University and a BS from the University of Notre Dame. And Paul, thank you so much for moderating, introducing our panel.
Thank you, Susan. And hopefully, Susan, can you hear me okay? I'm going to take that as a yes. So thank you all for joining us today. Very pleased to be here. Thank you for having myself and ScottMadden participate as moderator. A couple thoughts up front before we jump in. Obviously, the biggest story of the year has been the coronavirus. And back in March and April, one of the things that occurred is that we saw a very big drop in electricity demand due to shutdowns that were occurring around the world. Today, if you fast forward to what is December, we know a lot more about the virus and also some of those impacts on those that demand reduction that we saw back earlier in the year in the spring. And just recently, the World Meteorological Organization announced last month that the decrease in emissions from those shutdowns, and this is their technical term, will result only in a tiny blip in the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide that is in the atmosphere. In the US, what we've seen is that greenhouse gas emissions from economic activity are forecast to decline by 9.2% this year. But when you add back in the emissions from an unusually high wildfire season in the Western US, we're likely to see a net emissions are only expected to decline about 6.4% this year. Despite all these changes in the coronavirus, it seems like climate change is hitting a point where the world is beginning to respond in earnest. The United Nations was supposed to have their climate change meeting this year in Glasgow, United Kingdom. However, that's been pushed to next November due to the coronavirus. As part of that, many countries are now updating their climate plans, the goals that they intend to hit as part of larger international agreements. And there's been a couple noteworthy announcements related to that. The United Kingdom and most recently in the last couple of months, Japan announced that they intend to take their economies to net zero by 2050. And a very big one was China recently announced a similar goal of hitting net zero in 2060 as their target for that. Here at home, we just had a small election and it appears that we will have a new administration in the White House next year. The Biden administration is expected to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord, and climate change continues to appear to be a top priority of this new administration. So our panel today is going to look at carbon goals here in North Carolina. We're going to discuss how we might get there and some of the implications of these decisions. And so we have three folks that are joining us for this conversation today. I'll introduce each one of them now. The first we'll have Jeremy Tarr, who's a senior advisor for climate change policy with the North Carolina Governor's Office. Jeremy oversees implementation of Governor Cooper's Executive Order 80, which we'll go over in a second here. And he's formerly an energy policy advisor in the Governor's Office and has worked on federal climate and energy policy for both the US EPA and Duke University's Nicholas Institute. Next, we also have Swati Daji joining us today. She's Senior Vice President of Customer Solutions at Duke Energy. She's responsible for developing and marketing solutions and offerings to customers. Her previous roles at Duke Energy include Chief Procurement Officer, Chief Risk Officer, and Senior VP of Fuels and System Optimization. And third, we have Scarlett Harrod, who's an Industry and Account Manager at ABB. She has over 7 years of experience at ABB. Her current role is in measurement and analytics and is focused on technologies for emission monitoring, leak detection, and measurement. Prior to ABB, she worked in environmental consulting and finance. So our discussion today, we'll break it into three topics. First, we'll talk about goals and actions. Second, we'll look at integrating non-carbon technologies. And then the third piece, we'll look at a long-term outlook. And as we go through this, we've mapped out this conversation to be about 40 minutes. If folks from the audience do have conversations, feel free to send them in a chat to me. I'll try to monitor that as we go and work those in if they make sense. So with that, thank you all to the panelists for joining us today. Jeremy, I'd like to start with you. Let's go back a little bit. In October 2018, Governor Cooper issued what is called Executive Order 80. And this is titled North Carolina's Commitment to Address Climate Change and Transition to a Clean Energy Economy. Can you provide an overview of this order and what it requires?
Sure. I want to say at the outset, Paul and Susan, thank you so much for the invitation to be on this panel, and really appreciate, Susan, all of your years of leadership. I didn't realize this was your last meeting, so really appreciate your leadership on that. In terms of Executive Order 80, here's a quick overview. For those of you who have heard about it or read it, you may have noticed that it's pretty comprehensive. It addresses sets targets for the state. It directs development of strategic action plans, establishes the North Carolina Climate Change Council, and a couple of other things. So it was a pretty important kind of watershed moment, I think, in North Carolina for addressing climate change. And, you know, I think before, when I came to the job and before Executive Order 80, there was a lot of conversation about climate change, but some apprehension in various circles about actually naming it directly. And I think, you know, part of the significance of the governor's leadership on Executive Order 80 was not just its content, but also standing up and directly saying we are in a climate crisis and we need to take action to address it. And he stepped forward to do, you know, what he can do to start moving the ball in the right direction. This was important to the governor to do this because of the impacts that we're already seeing of climate change in North Carolina, and what we know from the globes, the world's leading scientists about the impacts of climate change and what we need to do to achieve net neutrality globally by 2050. I'll just say, you know, many if not most of us have lived through Hurricane Florence and Matthew, two 500-year flooding events in just a 3-year period of time. You know, if nothing else was a wake-up call, I think that was for many, many people. Even before Executive Order 80, we heard from many businesses, cities, in addition to advocates, including many folks here, expressing to the governor's office that your businesses, not just that a clean economy and addressing climate change is good for business generally, but that customers, leadership, you know, executives, employees, shareholders, all were asking for companies to move forward on climate change. And so being able to operate in a state where it's been being taken seriously and you know, direct measures are being taken to address the mitigation and the resilience side was something we were encouraged to do from the business community and a large group of stakeholders. So I'll say in terms of Executive Order 80, let me just outline a couple of things that it did. It set a goal of 40% emission reduction economy-wide by 2050, a goal to have 80,000 zero-emission vehicles in North Carolina's roads by that same date, and to improve state building efficiency. And in order to kind of get us moving in the right direction, the governor directed the development of 5 kind of strategic plans across multiple agencies. And the idea is that to address climate change holistically, it's going to take all hands on deck. And that means not just environmental folks, environmental department. It includes Department of Transportation, Commerce, Health and Human Services, et cetera. So fast forward a couple of years now, I mean, it's hard to believe it's been 2 years, but we have a very strong clean energy plan, a zero emission vehicle plan, a North Carolina resilience plan. We have a Department of Commerce assessment of the workforce impacts and needs that the state will have as we transition to clean transportation and clean energy economy. And we have a greenhouse gas inventory. So we have a sort of tally of and know how much emissions are coming from what sector and what their trajectory looks like going forward. You know, so with that, I think the long and the short of it is it's not going to solve itself on its own. You know, North Carolina is not going to remain a leader on clean energy or become more resilient just by hoping. It requires really coordination and cooperation among stakeholders. It involves learning, each of us learning, and it's going to require sort of layers of solutions that together kind of weave a net that is going to help protect us from the worst impacts of climate change. So I'm happy to talk more, but yeah, I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Jeremy. And one follow-up question. You mentioned an outcome of Executive Order 80, which was from 2008, was a series of state plans through a number of agencies. You mentioned a handful, but 2 of them, one was a clean energy plan and then also a zero emission vehicle plan. Can you go just a little bit deeper on those 2? What were some of the key findings of those plans and recommendations from those 2 plans? Yeah,
so the power sector and the transportation sector are the 2 largest emitting sectors of greenhouse gas emissions in North Carolina. Nationally, the transportation sector is the largest in North Carolina. It's set to be the largest in the next couple of years. So two big parts of Executive Order 80 were to develop strategic plans in the transportation and electricity sector. So for the clean energy plan, DEQ really stepped up and did a very impressive and thorough stakeholder process over the course of a year to identify goals and then ultimately deliver a plan to the governor. Some of the goals that the stakeholders identified were to reduce a goal to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from the power sector in North Carolina to 70% below 2005 levels by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Since then, Duke Energy, Dominion, number of co-ops and more businesses have arrived at the same goal, the 2050 goal, which I think is really encouraging that so many of us realize that we have the same endpoint in mind. Another goal of the Clean Energy Plan, that's important here is to kind of foster long-term energy affordability and price stability for businesses and residents in North Carolina. And we need to, third, accelerate clean energy innovation and development and deployment. The plan includes a number of recommendations in the following kind of buckets. Clean energy policy, modernizing our energy regulatory structure and incentives for the 21st century, energy efficiency programs, addressing environmental justice and ensuring a just transition for communities who currently are dependent on fossil fuels in various ways, recommendation to establish a North Carolina Green Bank, to move forward on offshore wind, to modernize building codes. Our building sector is an important sector when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, and to establish more comprehensive utility planning processes. So there are multiple recommendations in each of those buckets, but those are the kinds of things you'll find in terms of recommendations in the Clean Energy Plan. We also have a zero emission vehicle plan, which is the first time North Carolina has had that. The Department of Transportation led development of that plan and identifies a number of recommendations to advance the affordability of zero emission vehicles, convenience of charging and otherwise refueling, public education, and policy needs to move the ball forward on electric vehicles. I'll also say we have our Department of Administration has developed a zero emission vehicle plan for transitioning our state motor fleet to zero emission vehicles, and we're in the process of moving forward on that. Two last things that I'll just mention in the transportation space are, one, in July, Governor Cooper joined a dozen and maybe 15 or so other states in signing the medium and heavy duty zero emission vehicle MOU, which has a goal of 30% of sales of medium and heavy duty vehicles being zero emission by 2030 and arriving at all sales by 2050. So we're excited to be a part of that and be a part of a multi-state task force that's working through to develop a regional sort of an action plan among the states. And then the last thing I'll say is the VW settlement money. We received $92 million from the settlement and are in the process of executing contracts to our Department of Environmental Quality, executing contracts to get the first phase of the funds out the door. There's a open level 2 RFP for applicants that are interested in applying for level 2 charging funds that are still in phase 1, and then soon to come will be next steps with phase 2, which is around $60 million remaining. So a lot of action, a lot of planning and trying to move forward with concrete actions in the clean energy space and the zero emission vehicle space.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy, for outlining all the leadership that's coming from the state of North Carolina. You mentioned in your remarks that Duke Energy has made some commitments as well. And Swati, I'd like to turn to you next. In September of 2019, so a little over a year ago, Duke Energy clearly sits at a confluence here. That energy plan, Duke's the largest provider of electricity in North Carolina. And if we're to transition from to electric vehicles, you would be a primary provider of fuel there for electric vehicles. So about a year ago, Duke Energy announced an updated climate strategy that committed the company to achieve a company-wide net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Can you share with us what Duke has done to date and how it arrived at this commitment?
Thank you, Paul, and good afternoon. And thank you, Susan and Emmett, for giving me opportunity to share what Duke is doing. We are actually very excited about our ambitious goal. It has given us opportunity to transform our fleet and our ability to serve our customer differently. So, and this is not something that just happened in 2019 for us. It's been over a decade that we've been trying to reduce our emission. We have retired over 50 coal units, totaling around about 6,500 megawatts. And we have made substantial progress in increasing our renewable portfolio. We have almost 8,000 megawatts of wind and solar in our portfolio. And as Jeremy spoke to it, North Carolina is second largest after California in terms of installed solar capacity. And we are very glad to be part of that enablement and investing in that. So, you know, this has been really a journey for us that has started a decade ago. We are today from 2005 levels, almost at 39% emission reduction. And so we are very proud of it because when you look at the Paris Accord expectations, we are far exceeding those. And we wanted to make sure that we continue to make progress. And we are not just looking at the supply side, we are also looking at demand side, because that's also part of the equation when anybody looks at climate change and impact to emission. We have one of the largest energy efficiency and demand response portfolio. Our demand response portfolio is almost 3,200 megawatts strong. And our energy efficiency portfolio is really very strong. I mean, if I could put it in perspective, over the last 5 years, our portfolio has reduced almost 1 million cars worth of emission or carbon. And so that's really strong. SACE, which is Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, actually in their latest report called our portfolio unrivaled in Southeast. So we are very proud of that. But, you know, we are just not satisfied with the progress made. As we look forward and look ahead to next 5 years, next 10 years, we plan to double our renewable portfolio over next 5 years and retire another 5,000 to 10,000 megawatts of coal. And this is all, you know, enabled working through collaboratively and constructively with our stakeholders, with our regulators. I mean, you know, we are a regulated utility, so we need all our policymakers and regulators to kind of share the vision and continue to enable us to do these things proactively. And we want to pursue bigger and bigger decarbonization goal. We have put in actually a milestone of around about 50% reduction by 2030. And I think Governor Cooper has challenged us to 70% reduction. So we are really trying to embrace that and do that in a very, you know, aggressive manner to continue to, you know, focus on areas of renewable generation, you know, storage. That's going to be very critical as you think of a large portfolio, and how we can reduce carbon is our ability to store and transition from peak to non-peak and vice versa. And so storage is going to be very important, not just on the generation side, but also on the grid side. And continue to look for emerging technologies. You know, what we know today will get us to 50% by 2030, but we continue to challenge ourselves with other options so that we can get to the higher aspirational goal of 70% or more. So, you know, the velocity will be determined by you know, these emerging technology being viable, technologically possible, but also, affordable to some extent. So, if this is not dissimilar to solar and wind, when we started talking about it versus what it is now, I mean, it's really come through the hype cycle to now the cost reduction and becoming a very, very affordable technology. As we look to future, we are very excited to continue this journey and continue it with a bold effort on Duke Energy's part. But, as Jeremy talked about, it's not just about, the carbon and the emissions are not just from the utility, even transportation. And then you also recall we have Piedmont Natural Gas as part of our, portfolio. So we also have made additional commitments. We have said we'll get to net zero methane emission in our gas portfolio by 2030. We have also, we want to walk the talk and, hold hands with our policymakers and stakeholders in terms of electrification of vehicle, because that is about serving our community. And like you said, Paul, electricity is the fuel for that. So we wanted to walk the talk. And so we actually committed to, at the recent couple of EEI forums ago, to electrify our own fleet. We have 10,000 fleet vehicles. And so we said that we will get to 100% electric by 2030 for light duty vehicle. And for medium duty, heavy duty, and off-road, we are targeting around about 50% plus. Again, vehicle availability may be the only thing we watch for, and that's why the caveat. But as aggressively as they are available, we want to embrace it because we want to set an example for our customers and our community and really embrace the electrification goal as our own. So, this is a great vision, but this is more just an instigator of what's more to come. So we are super excited on this journey.
Great, thank you, Swati. And the word you use that I really like is the velocity of change. And for folks not familiar with Duke Energy, you all have two operating companies in North Carolina, Duke Energy Progress and Duke Energy Carolinas. Both of those utilities recently completed and filed integrated resource plans, or IRPs. And what those are, long-term 15-year planning documents of the generation resources that you intend to use. Both of these plans came after this 100% net zero carbon announcement. That really gets into the nuts and bolts of planning this transition, of understanding the velocity of what'll be needed. Did you all find anything? What were some of the key findings out of those IRPs, and anything noteworthy now that you have to go down the next level and really start planning what change needs to happen?
Absolutely. If we don't plan, things don't happen, right? So September 1st, we filed our two Carolina utilities IRP plan. And what was so unique about this plan was a few things. We did an extensive stakeholder engagement process up front. So we've always done that before, but this time it was a little bit more, intentional. And we had 200 diverse groups and stakeholders that weighed in. And we were trying to brainstorm of options to reduce emission and how we can enable it. I think you, as well as Jeremy, talked about this is not going to happen with just one person leaning in. This is about everybody leaning in. So we felt very strongly that getting that input from all the stakeholders was super important as we create a plan that everybody feels like it is a community plan. It is our plan rather than Duke Energy's plan. So that was really a little bit different. And the core elements, again, were renewable front and center. So we really leaned into how we can embrace renewable and integrate it into our vast portfolio, supported by storage and grid investments, and continuing to have a trajectory of closing coal units, but still making sure that our portfolio is reliable and affordable for our customers. So we have to continue to mind that. So you talk about velocity, that's some of the things that we looked at. So this time around, instead of just filing one, portfolio, one base plan, we actually had one base plan, and we did some scenarios plannings, because what we realized, and everybody realizes, that future is dynamic. There are going to be more things that may come available. There are more things that we need to do now to enable us even 5 years out or 10 years out or 15 years out. So we did 6 portfolio, and the underpinning of that analysis was all the stakeholder input that we received, plus multiple studies to make sure that we are looking at possibilities and potential of how we can transition our portfolio to cleaner and cleaner. So our base portfolio is still based on the legislative thing that we have, that it has to be the least cost. So we have done that, and it still has a very significant amount of renewable in there. It does have natural gas, as whether you call it transition or whether you call it for reliability. And we also did some high wind, also emerging technologies like nuclear. If those were coming to fruition and become affordable and reliable, how can we fold that in? And if that happens, what does the portfolio look like? And in all those portfolios, we also looked at affordability for our customers. So that analysis also underpinned different scenarios. So I think we did an analysis that give people the pros and cons of the velocity with which we can move. And we are pretty open to possibilities versus just having a base plan. We wanted to have base plan and a dynamic scenario analysis that guide us, and we can be agile to change course should the technologies enable us to serve our customers. So, we continue to look for Zephyr technology. We have to serve customer 24/7. And so as renewable gets larger and larger, as you know, it's intermittent resource. So we are looking at storage, we are looking at new technologies to serve us. So to close it out, I think to attain our ambitious goal, we felt strongly about having a very strong plan that gives us options, and continue to look for more collaboration to achieve net zero emission, to give more and more reliabilities to our customers, and minding affordability for our customers.
Great, excellent. Thank you for that, Swati. And Scarlett, I want to turn to you next. We've mentioned a lot of the resources people probably think about: solar, onshore wind, offshore wind, but there's a number of other technologies that may be needed to hit these carbon emission goals. Your role is somewhat unique in measurement and analytics. Can you elaborate what some other technologies we might see on the grid, and what role does ABB play in this transition?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Susan, and thanks to Cleantech Cluster for having me here. For those of you who are familiar with ABB, you already know, but just to reinforce, our portfolio covers so much of everything in the power generation space to industry and transport and infrastructure. And our technologies target sectors that account for 3/4 of global energy consumption. So we really touch this in every country around the world and in nearly every sector. And the most economical and lowest emission energy resource is always going to be energy efficiency. So it might not be the flashiest, and as Swati mentioned, the extensive Duke portfolio and energy efficiency earlier, and that's really something that is key to reducing carbon emissions. So just to give some perspective, 57% of our ABB revenues globally last year were from our eco-efficiency portfolio. That's roughly $16 billion. This is what's so important from power generation to the heavy industry of oil and gas, metals and mining, as well as all the production of these electric vehicles and material science and literally everything along the way. It's all the motors and the drives and the instrumentation and continuous emissions monitoring. It's all the pieces of the puzzle with that process automation that tell you what's happening in an operation, right? So in any energy or power generation operation, as well as industrial operation. So we play there, as well as everything related to food and beverage or CPG, right? All of that requires power to make things and to move things around. We play a key role in providing these leading technologies. And we're really proud that we've been named from a few different sources, one of the world's top 100 sustainable companies. So we're trying to practice what we preach in our own operations, be able to share those learnings with our customers and push that going forward. So it's really thinking broadly. It's energies, it's smart cities, it's industry and infrastructure, it's water, as well as, you know, one of the examples that I'm always amazed by too is how much work there is to be done in the maritime industry. I have another example for us later, hopefully we'll get to it, but the propulsion and electrification technology for cruise ships, for LNG vessels, and for container ships, we also play in that space and enable major reductions in carbon emissions and big increases in efficiency. One of the stats I learned in the last couple of years is that our largest 20 container ships in the world account for 3% of global carbon emissions. That's a massive number for 20 ships that are bringing us all the things that are getting delivered to our door every day, and these cars that we're driving and everything else. So I think it's really important to remember the entire spectrum of technologies and sectors that play into the emissions we have globally and the emissions we have here in North Carolina.
Thank you, Scarlett. And I didn't realize 20 ships were 3% of global emissions. So that's my fact of the day that I'm taking from this panel. One other question as a follow-up. ABB is a global company, as you mentioned. How does what we're seeing here in North Carolina, the state's leadership, Duke Energy's leadership, compare to what ABB sees elsewhere in the world?
Well, you know, I'm proud to live in North Carolina and to operate here. So ABB, you know, we have a big footprint here, and we care a lot about North Carolina, and obviously the U.S. and China are our biggest global markets. We see examples all over the world of municipalities investing in water and wastewater management for energy reduction and to reduce water loss throughout the process. So we helped Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam reduce their water losses by 30% last year. We also see in Europe the investments in sustainable infrastructure and transportation. So, you know, electric trains in Europe are something I see all the time when I'm able, you know, pre-COVID when I was there for work. So there's some things where other cities and countries are really able to collaborate and lead, especially in the areas of transportation and other types of municipal critical infrastructure. So I think it's really important that North Carolina is working toward the vehicle piece of it, right? And obviously power generation, those are huge here, but continuing to think about the way it ties into everything else throughout the chain. And an example that I see closer to home that also has to do with the maritime industry. Can you tell there's a theme? It's my favorite. But we actually, the first 2 all-electric ferries went into service at Niagara Falls, the Maid of the Mist ferries. And so we provided the propulsion technology, integrated the battery solution. And so now, you know, next time you're at Niagara Falls, you can see it without any stinky emissions, without any noise. And it's really such a great example and a great way to share that with all the people who are there and who see that. And I think these are examples around the world, and then here at the in the US, that we could also apply to North Carolina, right? How are we really thinking about mass transit infrastructure? You know, the technology exists. There are electric buses all over Europe and all over different cities in the US. And then what about electric ferries for our North Carolina ferry system? And then as well as if we could get to the point where we're really having the conversation about electric rail, these are things that would really improve the quality of life for so many people, improve their access to jobs, and they bring jobs here. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunity. North Carolina, I think, is headed in a lot of great directions, but then there are so many other examples of things we could be incorporating, right, in our long-term plans, both from a policy perspective and industry.
Great, thank you, Scarlett. And in the interest of time, to keep Susan and Emmett on schedule, I want to jump to kind of a last question, somewhat I'll call it the crystal ball question. I'm going to ask each of you to limit your comments to under 60 seconds. I'll hold you to it. And the question that I want to ask is, between now and 2050, so we've mapped out all these things that are happening, all the leadership North Carolina and the companies here are taking. what do you see as the biggest challenge to hit these goals, and what will it take for North Carolina to be successful? We'll go in reverse order. So Scarlett, let's start with you, and we'll go back through the line.
Sure, I would say education by far. We need to educate ourselves, educate the industry, educate policymakers, business leaders, and we really have to invest in STEM education and workforce retraining so that we have the people and talent to make these things happen. The only way we're going to be able to really address climate change and mitigate that is if we have the people, the skills, and the innovation to do it. So I think it's right there in parallel. It's the technology and it's education of people of all ages to make it happen and help show them how they have a place in this economy, in this clean tech movement.
Excellent, thank you. So education. Swati, how about you?
Yeah, my 30-second pitch would be that these technologies that we need to get to our ambitious goals as a state or as a utility, whoever it is, they are not built overnight. So I think quite a bit of technical, demonstration project funding, whether it be from federal level or state level, is super important, and policy support. If you look at any technology, I mean, without those two, they kind of die in the valley of death. So I think those two will be super important. And we are leaning in with a number of new technologies that we are doing demonstration projects with, whether it be Clemson CHP and Siemens. We just got funding to do a demonstration project there. We are also working with EPRI and ATE and Jules and RTCC and many others to lean in. But we will require funding and we will require policy support to really catapult these technologies.
Excellent. Thank you, Swati. And Jeremy, last but not least, how about you? 2050 biggest challenges and what will it take for North Carolina to be successful?
I mean, to get there, we're all going to have to multitask on a massive scale. It's going to take layers of policies and solutions that work together to get us where we need to be, to a net neutral economy by 2050. So this includes things that Swati and Scarlett already said. We're not going to get there on the status quo. We need new state policies. We need new federal policies and leadership. We need technology innovation. We're going to need funding from federal level and T3s and creative funding solutions to deploy and implement solutions. And it's going to take a lot of partnership and working together. So I really, in the governor's office, we've really appreciated the partnership with ABB and Duke Energy and numerous other stakeholders who we're all trying to get to the same place, and we each have a role. And so we're excited to be part of the solution moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. 2020 has not been the best year, but I'm excited about the rest of the decade to see how you all continue to lead us forward in North Carolina. So thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Swati, and thank you, Scarlett, for all joining us today. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Susan to continue with the program.
Thank you. Hindsight is 2020. I wish we had an hour and a half or 2 hours just for that thought leadership. We could have really gone more deeply. Thank you very much, Paul and Scarlett and Jeremy and Swati. I'd like to introduce Renee Peet, who represents Xylem. Renee is head of global marketing for Xylem, and we're so pleased to have Xylem as a sponsor of today's Cleantech Innovation Awards. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for your leadership over the time that I've been blessed to have worked with you at RTCC. Thank you also to Paul, Swati, Scarlett, and Jeremy. As with so many of our RTCC events, I find myself renewed and refreshed by the ambition, energy, and leadership of our local clean tech partners and leaders. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. As Susan said, my name is Renee Peet, and I lead the product management and marketing functions of Census within Xylem here in North Carolina. We're proud to sponsor this year's Cleantech Innovation Awards, and we're also proud to be a founding member of RTCC. You know, you might know us as an employer. We have hundreds of employees here in the Triangle, engineers, business people, smart, hardworking, committed to the mission of clean tech. You might also know us as a technology provider. So we connect utilities and cities to technology that empower them to be more efficient, safe, and sustainable. And we're proud to have amazing customers of ours like Wake Electric and Town of Cary nominated for these very awards that we're going to hear about today. And you might not know us at all, in which case it's great to meet you. At Xylem, we have our heads and our hearts focused on solving the world's greatest water and resource challenges. I will say if you Google Research Triangle Awards, some interesting headlines come up. One of the best American cities for live music, besides Nashville. The #1 upcoming IT city in the USA, other than Silicon Valley. And the 25th most pet-friendly city in the US. Although I think that my rescue cat might take issue with that. She might think it's higher. You know, if I could, I would rewrite these headlines based on stories we're about to hear from our award winners and nominees. And those headlines might read something more like the #1 hub for clean technology that creates better communities. The best incubator for big ideas that work, or the most supportive and diverse clean tech community in the world. These are the headlines that exemplify who we are as clean tech community and the massive strides these award winners are making for our community and our globe. Now, I have the honor of introducing our MC for these awards, James Amato, Manager of Strategic Business Solutions for WRAL Digital Solutions. James is a liberal arts college dean turned strategist and business developer. You hold my heart there, James, as a fellow liberal arts person. He's a problem solver and helps a diversity of clients, including small businesses, cities and counties, startups, tech companies, colleges, universities, healthcare providers, and nonprofits use digital media and emerging technologies to tell their stories and achieve their communications and revenue goals. James and his team specialize in social, economic, and workforce development initiatives and communicating the value proposition of living in and doing business in North Carolina. James, thank you for being with us today.
Renee, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for the introduction. And everyone, I'm very grateful to be with you. And Renee, those remarks were beautiful. You had me brainstorming. As anyone on this call who's ever spent more than 2 minutes with me knows, I'm always brainstorming. I was thinking headlines like first in X and first in Y. I have my own things to fill in X and Y with, and many of you have inspired those things. I would just encourage all of you to have your own things. And as we gear up for 2021, let's make those things very, very notable, loudly and proudly. Thank you again, everyone, for having me. I'm very grateful to present these awards today and to join you for the second time in a row. I hope I get a third. I think there's like an icon you can click to vote on that at some point, just kidding. But nevertheless, I want to explain really briefly a little bit about me and that organization, because we do have such a place in our heart for all of you. Both WRAL Digital Solutions and our sister brand, WRAL TechWire, reside at the intersection of media, marketing, and technology. And we've done that since 1937. My team's mission on the digital side of the house really is strategic business development. That is communicating the unprecedented value of business done and life lived in North Carolina to audiences near and far. Our vision is simple, albeit slightly complex, in that we are endeavoring toward a more connected, collaborative, and innovative statewide and regional ecosystem within which we and other local media providers have a multitude of stories to tell and great partnerships to foster that will inspire people of all ages to take action in moving our community forward equitably and adequately. Thank you again, and I look forward to helping tell your story and partner with you all moving forward. And now I want to give out some awards. Our first award is the award for water innovation. And I believe, there we go. And this award for water innovation featured the following nominees. Of course, outstanding nominations from the City of Gastonia's water treatment facility, a desalination startup based in Raleigh, UMS's metering as a service solution for water utilities, the City of Charlotte's wastewater treatment plant, and OWASA in Orange County, which is deploying solar to lower energy costs. I encourage you to learn more about these projects on RTCC's website at researchtrianglecleantech.org/2020 Cleantech Awards. And our winner is the town of Cary, as you see. And this year's Water Innovation Award goes to the town of Cary. I'd like to read a brief blurb about this. During stormwater events such as Hurricane Florence, the town of Cary had no visibility into river leaks or how quickly water was rising. Traditionally, the town relied on citizens to alert them of floods through phone calls, messages, and other means. Staff would manually dispatch public work personnel to erect barriers, close roads, and send first responders to emergencies. Cary believed that its existing system was not serving clients in flood-prone areas well, and knew they needed a more scalable solution to get them from reactive to proactive to ultimately predictive. The town installed water sensors from Greenstream Technologies, an alum of the RIDE Accelerator program, and collaborated with regional municipalities and the Triangle J Council of Governments to share data. These sensors were installed along the Walnut Creek stream basin and rain gauges at several facilities owned by the town. By using SAS analytics for IoT and the Microsoft Azure IoT Hub, town staff can now visualize flooding events in real time. The system automates stormwater personnel notifications and work order generation, alerts citizens of flooding events, provides data to downstream regional and state entities. And instead of relying on citizen calls, the data triggers alerts that automatically notifies stormwater personnel who can then react and address flooded areas. Cary's floodwater prediction solution will have the Triangle and its neighbors better prepared when the next massive rain event occurs. Let's congratulate the town of Cary on receiving this year's Water Innovation Award. And we now have a brief video of acceptance to play for you.
Hi, this is Terry Yates from the town of Cary, and I'm proud to accept the 2020 Cleantech Water Innovation Award. One of the most rewarding aspects of this project was watching our staff work with vendor partners to integrate various technology components to create our smart and connected community ecosystem. I want to thank the town of Cary's Smart and Connected Community Committee, our Stormwater Department, our IT department's integration development and operations teams, as well as our vendor community, which includes Greenstream Technologies, Microsoft, SAS, Salesforce, Esri, and Delbumi. Lastly, I want to thank our municipal, county, and state partners. Without all of their expertise and support, this award would not be possible. Thank you again.
Well, thank you, Terry, and the team at the town of Cary. Outstanding work, and to all your vendor partners as well. Again, outstanding work. Our next innovation award is for transportation innovation, and this award recognizes a transportation or mobility project that uses innovative clean tech solutions to create positive impacts for the environment, the economy, and for residents. We received excellent nominations, including Go Raleigh's Alternative Fuels Fleet, the City of Charlotte's Sustainable and Resilient Fleet Policy, and Microgrid Lab's Fleet Electrification Planning Solutions. The Transportation Innovation Award goes to the City of Raleigh for its EVSE, or Electric Vehicle Suitability Analysis Mapping Tool. Transportation emissions account for 42% of GHG emissions in Raleigh, and modeling suggests that the expansion of electric vehicle infrastructure is necessary to support EV adoption. And transportation electrification is one of the most impactful strategies to reduce emissions in North Carolina. EVs eliminate tailpipe emissions, which improves local air quality, affecting the health and well-being of residents. The City of Raleigh has created a GIS-based tool that identifies the most suitable priority locations for publicly available level 2 EV charging stations in the city to serve the community. The suitability of an area is based on criteria such as EV driver behavior, location convenience, charger utilization, economic development opportunities, environmental justice, and equity. The tool specifically identifies suitable business locations with an emphasis on minority and women-owned businesses, which could benefit from installing EV charging stations to attract customers, increase dwell times, and generate additional revenue. The City of Raleigh developed this model with replication from other communities in mind. In addition to providing mapping for all communities in Wake County, the tool is easily adapted based on a community's locally available data and community priorities. The City of Raleigh's Office of Sustainability and Information Technology Department worked together to design the methodology and tool. Peer cities across North Carolina and the US helped inform the methodology and data sources. Data sources include the City of Raleigh, North Carolina Department of Transportation, Office of Historically Underutilized Businesses, the US Census Bureau, Wake County, and ESRI. Several North Carolina governments provided feedback on the tool, including the City of Asheville, Town of Cary, City of Durham, City of Charlotte, Orange County, and the Town of Apex. Let's congratulate the City of Raleigh on receiving this year's Transportation Innovation Award.
Hey RTCC family, I'm Greg Sponseller. I'm the Energy and Sustainability Analyst in the City of Raleigh's Office of Sustainability, and it is my pleasure to accept RTCC's Transportation Innovation Award on behalf of the city for our electric vehicle charging station suitability analysis mapping tool. This tool was created by the city's Office of Sustainability and Information Technology Department, and I must recognize my close partner on this project, GIS analyst Katie Isles, who was instrumental in creating and developing this tool. And Katie and I worked with many others on this project, and we want to recognize our managers, Megan Anderson and Jim Elberk, who provided us with guidance and support throughout the process, as well as all of the other city staff who reviewed our methodology and provided feedback on the tool. Katie and I also want to thank everyone else who reviewed the tool with us, including our peer municipalities throughout North Carolina, Duke Energy, the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, the Southeast Sustainability Directors Network, and RTCC. I want to recognize the leadership of Raleigh City Council, who set a greenhouse gas emissions reduction goal for the Raleigh community, and projects like these help us move our community climate work forward. I think the most rewarding part of this work for Katie and I was just discovering how this tool complements the other work that city staff are doing and creating it in a way so that way the tool can be adapted for use in other cities and counties. But without all of your support and expertise, we couldn't have created a tool that represents our community values and helps advance clean transportation. So it's a great achievement. We truly appreciate your recognition of our work. So thank you very much.
Congratulations, Greg, and the City of Raleigh. Outstanding work. Our next award is a Grid Innovation Award featuring the following nominees. But first, this award recognizes an electric utility or grid project that uses Cleantech to create positive impacts for the environment, the economy, and for residents. This is very difficult to judge, I'm told, because we received excellent nominations, including Roanoke Electric Cooperative's Community Solar Program, designed for low to moderate income households, Brunswick Electric Cooperative's Neighborhood Microgrid, and the City of Charlotte and Duke Energy's Green Tariff Program, which will enable a 35 megawatt solar project. This year's Grid Innovation Award goes to Power Resource Group, which operates Carolina Poultry Power in Farmville, North Carolina. Big agriculture is a backbone of the North Carolina economy. The nearly 1 billion animals produce 5 million tons of litter waste per year. That has enormous implications for water quality and the environment. PRG designed, funded, built, owns, and operates the CPP project in Farmville, which annually diverts 70,000 tons of poultry litter to create nearly 2 megawatts of clean, renewable electricity and 12 megawatts equivalent of thermal power for a small utility and nearby industry. With extremely low emissions, an ash byproduct highly sought after by farmers in the region, This project is an example of the circular economy at its best. Pollution becomes fuel, zero landfilling occurs. Every side stream is a valuable economic development vector for the local region. The thermal energy generated by CPP is distributed on a local grid of pipes to assist in wastewater evaporation and newly created industrial production. The project brought $32 million in investment into a rural area in North Carolina, created 20 direct and 30 indirect jobs, and established a template for how industrial, as opposed to utility scale projects, can work with smaller rural electrical utilities to provide baseline 24/7 power without the typical drawbacks of intermittent renewable energy sources. The bulk of CPP workforce relocated from a closed coal plant in the region, the epitome of how the United States can transition to a sustainable economy without the loss of employment or economic activity. Let's congratulate Power Resource Group on receiving this year's Grid Innovation Award.
My name is Rich Deming, and I'm the CEO of the Power Resource Group. I could not be happier to be accepting this Grid Innovation Award from the Triangle Cleantech Cluster for our subsidiary, Carolina Poultry Power. I'm standing here in our offices in Farmville, North Carolina, where we moved when we decided to go all in on ag biomass and waste energy projects. I could not be prouder of the $30 million we brought into North Carolina to build our power plant here, which displaces 250 tons per day of ag waste. We have directly created 25 jobs here and supported the creation of 25 more with our counterparties. We could not have done it without the support of great local citizens and great local officials and staff, folks in small electric cooperatives where we interconnect, and the larger utilities with whom we also contract, and a large number of vendors and subcontractors from our region and across the state. We look forward to building and operating our next power plant, which will start up the road in Wilson next quarter, and to continuing to create clean energy out of waste materials for many years to come. Thank you.
Congratulations, PRG and Carolina Poultry Power and partners in Farmville. Our next award is the Cleantech Talent Initiative Award, featuring the following nominees. This award recognizes a program or initiative that supports or develops people entering the clean tech industry, and we received a multitude of strong nominations for this award, including UNC's Energy Literacy Engagement and Action Program, Cree Wolfspeed's Internship and Outreach Program, and UNC Institute for the Environment's Clean Tech Corner Initiative. These nominees were judged based on the effectiveness, innovation, and sustainability of their programs. The Talent Initiative Award goes to the US EPA's Community Engagement and STEM Education Program. CE STEM communicates EPA's mission of protecting human health and environment to students, educators, and the public through programs in schools, communities, and on the EPA's RTP campus, and since March of 2020 through virtual programming. Clean tech is embodied in this initiative in 3 of the educational focus areas, including clean energy using the EPA-developed game Generate, the game of energy choices, ecosystem services using EPA's EnviroAtlas tools to communicate the health benefits provided by ecosystems, and sustainability through Speakers Bureau presentations and sustainability tours at the RTP campus. In 2020, the program has reached 956 people in K-12 schools and universities throughout the Generate activity, 990 people through ecosystem services activities in K-12 schools, teacher workshops, and universities, 332 people through sustainability tours of EPA RTP, and 513 people through speaking presentations. While most of these programs were in the Triangle, the EPA also taught classes at North Carolina A&T, UNC Asheville, and on the Cherokee Reservation in Western North Carolina. During 17 plus years of STEM outreach, EPA RTP has built and nurtured strong relationships in schools and communities and pivoted easily to virtual programs. A new partnership with the Keenan Fellows Program and Durham Public Schools will provide professional development for educators with a focus on sustainable agriculture and environmental justice. Let's congratulate EPA RTP on receiving this year's Talent Innovation Award.
Hi, I'm Kelly Witter with the US EPA in Durham, North Carolina, and I'm proud to accept the Talent Initiative of the Year Award. This month, EPA celebrates our 50th anniversary, and Cleantech is an important part of environmental protection. To increase inclusion in STEM professions, most of our outreach takes place in low-income schools. Now we'll turn to Lauren, who will share how we take Cleantech to the classroom.
Thank you, Kelly. Hey everyone, my name is Lauren Bamford and I am a contractor at the US EPA. One of our favorite activities, Generate the Game of Energy Choices, helps us bring Cleantech into the classroom, both in person and now virtually. It helps students to understand the trade-offs and challenges that go into deciding whether or not they're going to use renewable or non-renewable energy resources. And of course, we couldn't do what we do without the support of our partner schools in Durham, Wake, and Cumberland counties, as well as U.S. embassies in Eastern Europe. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Congratulations, Team EPA RTP. Excellent work. Our next award is the Cleantech Diversity Initiative Award, featuring the following nominees. And this award recognizes a program or initiative that has made significant contributions to ensuring the cleantech workforce reflects people it serves. The nominees in this category have provided tremendous leadership in prioritizing diversity and include NCSEA's Women in Clean Energy program, Cree Wolfspeed's $4 million donation to North Carolina A&T University to promote STEM, the Climate Service, which has developed a hiring system eliminating bias from the hiring process, and Xylem's employee networks. The Diversity Initiative Award goes to the City of Charlotte for its renewable energy and efficiency workforce training program, Renew. Addressing climate change and helping develop a workforce trained for a green economy is an important focus for the City of Charlotte. The city partnered with the Urban League of Central Carolinas and Train Technologies to provide career opportunities for Charlotte residents most affected by COVID-19. The public-private partnership is attracting Charlotte residents who might not otherwise have considered clean energy jobs. And by targeting residents in Charlotte, connecting them with Charlotte area businesses, Renew is making strides in ensuring the region's clean tech workforce reflects the people it serves. Participants in the Renew program will receive a training stipend of $15 an hour during the 13-week course facilitated by the Urban League of Central Carolinas. Both virtual and hands-on training will be offered. The City of Charlotte will invest approximately $500,000 over 12 months into the program with an additional funding from the CARES Act. Every participant will have access to comprehensive wraparound support services, including resume and cover letter development, interview coaching, financial literacy coaching, digital literacy support, mentoring, and participants will be eligible for guaranteed job placement within 1 year of the program's with one of the program's corporate partners at the conclusion of the training program. These skill sets are in high demand in the Charlotte region. The average wage for entry-level technicians in this field is $48,000 a year, and the goal is to place 60 students within the next 12 months. Let's congratulate the City of Charlotte for their great work in winning this award.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily Cantrell from the City of Charlotte's Economic Development Department, and I'm proud to accept the Diversity Program of the Year Award for our Renew training program. Yay! One of the most rewarding parts of the project was building a public-private partnership around creating a sustainable talent pipeline for the HVAC industry. Additionally, seeing the individual progress of our residents in the training program have made towards starting their careers in this field brings us great joy. I'd like to thank several key partners, including the city's Office of Sustainability, the National Resource Defense Council, our program consultant, Shermco, our training partners, Urban League of the Central Carolinas, and Goodwill Industries of the Southern Piedmont, as well as our corporate partners, Train Technologies and MSS Solutions, for their support of this program. Without their involvement and encouragement, this would not have been possible. Thank you to the Research Triangle Cluster for this recognition and honor. I'm privileged to be a part of the awardees today. Thank you.
Congratulations again, City of Charlotte. Our next award is the Cleantech Impact Award, featuring the following nominees. And this award recognizes an organization that has accelerated economic growth in the region or state and has made significant use of clean tech doing so. The nominees include Duke Energy's Neighborhood Saver program, which partners with community agencies to reduce household energy use, and Honeywell's global headquarters relocation to Charlotte, which is bringing 500 jobs to the region over the next 5 years. The Cleantech Impact Award goes to Garner Economic Development Corporation for Project Axis, aka Amazon RDU1. In 2009, after a devastating industrial accident, ConAgra Foods shuttered their plant in Garner. Garner Economic Development Corporation worked for years to market the property for redevelopment and to replace the 440 jobs and $55 million of tax base that was lost when the plant closed. The Project Axis Amazon RDU1 project resulted in the redevelopment of the large 98-acre brownfield site into a 2.6 million square foot Amazon fulfillment center that will employ thousands. The facility opened in August this year and announced they would hire 3,000 employees, twice the number of employees than originally projected. This is very important right now, obviously, as the area's unemployment rate has doubled, and many people who have been laid off due to the pandemic can now find employment that will provide benefits such as health insurance at the new facility. The project has resulted in the construction and build out of nearly $5 million of public infrastructure in widening Jones Sausage Road. Amazon is also discussing adding solar panels and energy savings measures to help reduce the facility's overall carbon footprint. At its completion, the Amazon facility will represent roughly $250 million in new investment in tax base. The company will add over $80 million in new payroll to the community. The facility will become the largest taxpayer and employer in Garner history. This project is providing jobs to those who have been the most impacted by the pandemic. It's also giving new life to an area of the town of Garner that for nearly a decade sat empty and was a constant reminder of the devastating loss from the ConAgra incident. This project is more than just an investment in the jobs that it created. It's also an investment in helping build a brighter future for the town of Garner and the people of the Triangle region. Congratulations to Garner Economic Development Corporation for winning the Cleantech Impact Award.
Hello, I'm Jeff Swain, Chairman of the Garner Economic Development Corporation. I'm proud to accept this award on behalf of the GEDC Board of Directors. In 2009, ConAgra Foods, Garner's largest employer and taxpayer at the time, shuttered their production facility. For nearly a decade after the plant shuttered, the GEDC worked to redevelop the former ConAgra site and to turn what was a tragic loss into a catalyst for economic development and growth. Just this year, Amazon opened their 2.4 million square foot facility on the site and has created over 3,000 jobs during a time when so many in our community have found themselves without work. This great success would not have been possible without the help of our many partners. I want to thank the town of Garner, the GEDC Board of Directors and Advisory Committee, Wake County Economic Development, the North Carolina Economic Development, NCDOT, NCDEQ, Amazon Hillwood, Foundry Commercial, Withers Ravenel, and the countless other partners that helped make this happen. A special thank you goes to the former GEDC Board of Directors, Chairman Bruce Andrews, Ken Marshburn, and Elmo Vance, who through the many years served the GEDC and were instrumental in making this project happen. Finally, thank you to the Research Triangle Cleantech Cluster for recognizing the Garner Amazon project and the impact it's had on the local area. Hello, I'm Jim.
Congratulations, Garner Economic Development Corporation, and that very big collaboration of folks for the award. Friends, we're in the home stretch. I'm watching the clock. I'm going to do my best to get us through, and thank you for your patience as we continue to honor this year's nominees and award winners. Our next award is the Cleantech Community Award, featuring the following nominees. And this award recognizes a local government or community which has completed an innovative project using clean technology to create positive impacts for the environment, community, and residents. We've had fantastic nominations for this category, and from building analytics to a smart park to drones used for public safety. The Cleantech Community Award this year goes to Wake Electric Membership Corporation for the Eagle Chase Subdivision Community Microgrid. Wake EMC recognized the mass sprawl in northern Wake County, including the addition of 60 subdivisions in the past 3 years, which is extremely rare in rural electrical territories. This sprawl enabled the opportunity for Wake EMC and their partners to develop a resilient community microgrid for the residents of Eagle Chase subdivision. North Carolina developer Winslow Homes envisioned a community with built-in redundancy and resiliency. After discussion with Wake EMC, the two partners shifted from homeowners operating and maintaining 31 separate generators to Wake EMC maintaining a single 300 kilowatt ultra clean diesel generator from PowerSecure. In addition to reducing emissions, the single generator takes the worry and hassle out of the homeowner's hands. To increase sustainability, Wake EMC's power supplier, the North Carolina Electrical Membership Corporation, helped install a 500 kilowatt hour Tesla battery storage system in addition to the diesel generator from PowerSecure. Congratulations, Wake EMC and your partners for this year's award.
Hello, my name is Don Bowman and I work for Wake Electric, and we are so honored to be accepting the Cleantech Cluster Innovative Community of the Year Award for 2020. We are super excited to be able to offer a residential community its own microgrid to provide a resiliency like no other subdivision in the state. To imagine that 31 homes are going to have over 36 hours of backup power for both reliability and a local resource when the grid is constrained with capacity. We could not have done this without the innovative thinking of Winslow Homes, a strong partnership with NCEMC providing a 1 megawatt hour battery for the location, and with PowerSecure to help us spec out the right generator for the site. Again, we are very grateful for this recognition and this award.
Congratulations again, Wake EMC. Our next award is the Cleantech Entrepreneur Award. This award recognizes an individual who's created innovation with the potential to disrupt traditional industries, create a cleaner planet, and improve the quality of life for the people around the world. Received several compelling nominations this year. We're not going to announce the individual nominations, but we'll simply say we have a strong network of mission-driven innovators in North Carolina. As a former commercial electrician turned electrical engineer, our entrepreneur this year witnessed the dangers of an electrical infrastructure and was motivated to build something better. He and his team created the first and only solid-state circuit breaker certified for commercial use by UL, and a switch that is 3,000 times faster than any mechanical breaker and virtually eliminates the risk of arc flashes or explosions within a breaker. This technology saves lives. Atom Power was founded at UNC Charlotte, and half of its engineers are alumni. The company manufactures 95% of its components for the Atom switch within 200 miles of Charlotte and employs 26 people there. In June of this year, Atom Power raised $17.8 million in a Series B round to develop the next generation digital circuit breaker to address the world's most pressing power distribution challenges, like integrating renewables into the grid, building more efficient data centers, and supporting sustainability initiatives like EV charging. Atom Power's investors include Valor Equity Partners, which previously invested in Tesla, SpaceX, and ABB Technology Ventures. Thank you and congratulations, Ryan Kennedy, for winning our first Cleantech Entrepreneur Award.
Hello, my name is Ryan Kennedy. I am co-founder and CEO of Atom Power, a company that's building solid-state circuit breakers located in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been fortunate enough to win the Cleantech Entrepreneur of the Year Award, which I will hold up here. Thank you very much, those who nominated me for this. I'd say some of the most rewarding parts of my work have been really creating significant impact and advancement in an industry that I've been a part of for about 26 years now. So in power distribution, that's really been my life, both as an electrician, as an electrical engineer, and now making products that truly drive enablement. Seeing innovation emerge from the Atom Power team has really been extremely rewarding, in addition to just being able to make great products. I'm working with team members who are much smarter than me, legitimately so. I walk away every day, learning something new from at least one of our employees, and that's just great to have that. I've also collaborated a lot, with my time at Atom Power. The ways I do that are, I've never been in stealth mode, about what Atom Power is doing, about what we're trying to do in changing the world. We've always been open about what we're doing because our goal is to make the world a better place, and that's just simply not done in secret. And we're always looking, how we can use our technology to make good companies great ones, I would say. I think that's been the theme of Atom Power, is collaboration by adding value to an industry that desperately needs it right now, and that is our power distribution and power grid industries. And again, thank you very much for this award.
Congratulations, Ryan and team. And last but not least, our Cleantech Champion Award. Mark Burnett has worked for the North Carolina Electric Cooperatives for 33 years, currently in the role of COO. During that time, his fundamental goal has been to improve the quality of life in rural North Carolina and the communities that the cooperatives serve. Mike has supported those communities in a variety of ways, including helping the cooperatives provide affordable and reliable electricity. But as the industry has changed, Mike pivoted and led efforts to provide the power in innovative and sustainable ways in supporting those communities through economic development. Some of the projects Mike has championed include the cooperative's 18 community solar projects. The cooperatives led the way in community solar, first initiating construction in 2014. Mike then led NCEMC in the development of several microgrids tying sustainable resources with energy storage and innovative control technologies. Mike also supported the cooperative's EV charging network throughout the state. Most recently, Mike was focused on helping form the cooperative's brighter future vision for the electric cooperatives to achieve the net zero carbon emissions goal by 2050, while also upholding a commitment to reliable and affordable electricity. Finally, Mike has served on a variety of boards and committees at the state and national level, including the Research Triangle Cleantech Cluster, E4 Carolinas, National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, Business and Technology Services, Strategic Advisory Council, ACES, and most recently, board president of the National Renewables Cooperative Organization. Mike Burnett, thank you. We will miss you when you retire next year, but our friendship and gratitude will continue. Congratulations on being this year's Cleantech Champion.
Hello, my name is Mike Burnett, COO of North Carolina's Electric Cooperatives. I'm honored to be the recipient of the 2020 Cleantech Champion of the Year Award. But truthfully, this award goes to the entire team that has championed the use of clean technology in the electric business space. Of all my responsibilities, I have derived the most satisfaction from working with our members to innovate clean energy projects that create positive impacts for the environment and their local economies. The reward of improving the quality of life for our members and their communities is without measure. Over the past year, the team has been fortunate to lead and direct changes that incorporate additional renewable resources and clean energy technologies. We have also had the opportunity to partner with our state's largest industry, the agricultural community, in the areas of production and processing, helping to provide clean tech solutions to their operations. And the North Carolina cooperatives continue to build out a statewide EV charging network to reduce emissions and make driving electric a reality for all North Carolinians. All of these efforts tie into what we are calling our brighter future. This future consists of strengthening rural North Carolina, providing sustainable, low-cost energy, innovation, and delivering the cooperative difference. Clean tech is key to making this all possible. Once again, thank you for this honor.
Mike, congratulations again. Friends, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to welcome Jennifer Yoakley of Trilliant to offer our closing remarks.
Absolutely. Congratulations to all of the award winners again. Since I'm all that's standing between you guys and lunch, or maybe your next Zoom meeting, I'll be quick. First, I wanted to thank the entire Research Triangle Clean Tech Cluster team for their hard work, another great year, and a spectacular virtual event. I also want to thank each of you for taking the time to support such a fantastic event and organization. My name is Jennifer Yoakley, and I'm the head of global marketing for Trilliant. We moved our global headquarters to North Carolina in 2017, and I serve on the board of directors for the Clean Tech Cluster. If you guys have seen today, the clean tech and energy industry makes a huge difference in people's lives. 2020 was an unprecedented year for the clean tech industry, for RTCC, but as you guys saw today, this industry is continuing to grow. As cities and utilities and corporations are establishing aggressive decarbonization goals, Trilliant is poised to provide the communications platform and solutions to enable organizations to reach these goals. RTCC has such an exciting 2021 planned, with plenty of opportunity to connect with potential partners and customers to grow your organization. Please feel free to reach out to me or any other RTCC member about how we benefit from the Clean Tech Cluster. And thanks to all of you again for joining us today. Please have a wonderful afternoon.
Oh, this concludes our meeting. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, James. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.